Okay, so today I'd like to welcome Roy Poller. Roy has been with the Centre for an awful long time, which I'm sure he'll tell us about. And his particular specialisms, although he does a lot of things like Reiki and aromatherapy, Roy is really known for his talk therapies. So Roy, tell me and everybody watching this today, what really attracted you to talking therapies?
Well, throughout my life, I've always been the person that's helped other people. So if there's been a party, I've been the one that's in the corner talking with the person who's distressed. And then I just wanted to learn how to do that better. It's my instinct to go and help someone.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could know the tools to help someone more efficiently, to empower them to sort of get themselves out of trouble, then that lifts me up and gives me a nice smile. It's about that person walking away happy, feeling that they've done something to help themselves. And when they help themselves, they can carry on doing it. It's almost like the old story of the hungry man and the fisherman.
Mm-hmm.
You teach him how to fish, or if you give him a fish, if you give him a fish, he's got a meal. You teach him how to fish, you've got a meal for life. And that's what I'm a strong believer in, is giving people the tools to be able to move forward with their lives empowered.
And where did you start with talking therapies then?
Ooh. Originally, I'll go almost back into the 90s when I first started doing it. And it was back in 2008, I ended up with a life decision because we had childcare issues. We had two young children who were 2 and 4. And we had no childcare. The people we used for childcare had to both stop very, very quickly. And we had a choice. Either, and it's a lovely choice because the answer was both either way. It was going to be broke paying for childcare, or I gave up my full-time work to look after the children. Either way, it was going to be broke. And it gave me a very simple choice. And I started a 20-year plan of moving from what I used to do, which was an electrician, into becoming a therapist.
20-year plan.
Yeah, well, because I knew the first 10 years, looking after the children, I wouldn't be able to do much. So I knew that's, because they was 2 and 4 at the time,
Mm-hmm.
I could start the process, but I couldn't get headlong into it until I'd reached a point where the children were old enough to start looking after themselves. So there's nothing wrong with having a long plan.
No.
So it was just a gentle 20-year plan. And just started working through it. And the rewards I gained from actually bringing up my children, almost taking on the female role, which almost gives an instinct as the nurturing elements of my life. In fact, there's one comment by a teacher at the school. My son was upset at one stage, and he turned around and says, "I want my dad." And the teacher said it's the first time ever she's heard a child ask for their dad rather than their mum.
Oh.
So I find that it gives me a wonderful element where I can see life from both a female and a male perspective.
Mm.
Because I did all the female side of it. So I then sort of started this plan, and as the children got older and became more independent, I then built up on my different therapies, more so on the talking side, where I learnt more tools, more techniques. And then as I built up my knowledge and understanding of therapies, I was able to pass those tools on to other people. And helping clients, both private and within the centre.
And you have a range of tools, which is great. So somebody comes along and they're thinking of having a treatment with you. Why would talking therapies be good for them?
It's getting down to the nitty-gritty of it. And if you work on my belief system with hypnosis, which is one of my favourite tools, we can access the subconscious mind. I'll often spend a little bit of time with somebody sort of how big is the subconscious mind, and they'll sort of throw out all sorts of figures. And most people are shocked when you turn around and say it's 90 to 95% of the mind is the subconscious mind. It is the seat of all our emotions and beliefs. And a lot of our problems are in those emotions and beliefs. And hypnosis is that most wonderful tool you can access the subconscious mind. And you start off a session by saying, what would you like to achieve today? And when you start asking the questions, then that gives me an idea as to which tool I'm going to use on that particular day. Then you ask the question, how will you know that you've succeeded today? So what is then a realistic expectation? How are we going to know that we've done something good for you on this very day? So we've then set up a belief system that's they're going to walk out of there, then they're going to know what will mean they've achieved it. So we might set up a simple SCUD value, how do you feel today between 1 and 10? 10 is a total disaster. And 1 is, yeah, whatever. And then by the end of the session, we'll have changed that number. We'll have brought that number down so that person feels comfortable. And the beauty of using the SCUD values is, now SCUD is significant unit of distress, because the biggest problem you have with a lot of people is they throw out all these initials and they don't mean a dicky bird to anybody else. So sometimes you have to stop yourself and sort of say, this is what these letters mean.
Yeah.
And it's just simply saying, how do you feel? 10 is bad, 1 is good.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're feeling bad, we bring that number down as low as we possibly can. So then that person at the end of that session walks out of there knowing that they've improved their life because they feel better. And very often somebody just having somebody who's willing to sit there and listen and let them dump all their rubbish on the desk, they feel so much better. It's offloading it all, where you're not putting any distress on your loved ones at home. Because sometimes you can say something to somebody who's outside the family where you know it's going to go no further, and you can dump all your rubbish and it's great. And you can just smile and say, that's all yours, look after it for me.
So you mentioned hypnosis, but what else might somebody experience when they have a session with Roy? Right,
and so as I said, I feel drawn to what I want. So there's some wonderful therapies. Now I'll use the initials, then I'll explain what they are. There's a simple one, and it's called EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization. Now, and there's a lovely explanation somebody uses. He says you've got two halves of the mind, a logical half and a emotional half. And the one expression I really love, he says the emotional half, he describes it as the home of Stephen King. That's where the monsters dwell. Now, with techniques like EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization, you're working from one side of the mind to the other. And what you're doing is you're telling the monster that it lives in the past. It doesn't belong now. So you're telling the monster where it should belong, and that is not in the present. The incident happened, you learn from it, and when you learn from something, you don't need the emotional rubbish that goes with it. You've learnt your lesson. And when you've learnt your lesson, you can let it go. And I love the expression, the home of Stephen King. It sums it up so beautifully. So with EMDR, it is a simple process of, yet again, it's just a scale where we will literally just be almost drawing a finger across the screen. Mm-hmm. It even works on the internet over Zoom. And you simply find a question where the emotion is, what the emotion is, and then by drawing it backwards and forwards, you start changing that process. You may even change direction a little bit. And as the person starts, it feels a shift or a change within them, you simply ask them to tell them what's going on. But I'll also be watching the person's face, so I can see tiny little movements, little shifts. Then you ask for another letter, another name, another number, until you actually bring that feeling down to a nice level. It may even change completely. You might start working on something different. It's whatever comes to light at that moment in time. And you work your way through it until it comes down. Another fascinating one, which I use a lot of, people may have heard it, is NLP, which is Neuro Linguistic Programming. Nobody ever uses the full name because it's too long.
It's a long one, yes.
But it is the science of how we think. We can't work out what you think, but we know how you think it. And there's a couple of techniques in there that I absolutely love. One is called anchors, and then you can anchor positive states. I frequently use hypnosis to do it, and then to lock somebody to feel really relaxed and calm just by doing that. Then whenever you go, you can then simply relax at will. And it's totally safe. You can even use it while driving.
Mm.
And imagine if you get cut up by some wally. So rather than coming out in fluent French to tell them what you thought of their driving, you can go, wally. And it will not put you back into trance, so it's totally safe. And for people at the centre, it's fantastic, because if you can go to see your consultant and relax, you will hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
You will hear what the consultant is explaining to you. And you'll be able to take it on board. And by relaxing and being calm, you'll be able to ask the right questions.
Yes.
How often do you walk out of a consultant's meeting and you think, if only I'd have asked? If you're calm and you're relaxed, you will be able to ask that question and see what they have to say. And the other one I love in NLP is reframing. And that's where you take a particular incident and then you turn it around into a positive. The old saying, every dark cloud has a silver lining. And I'm a firm believer of that. I also know sometimes it's a devil to find it. It's buried that deep in there. So sometimes it does need a little bit of digging, but there's a nugget of gold, a silver line in that situation that can help you. And my job, my role, is to give you the tools to help you find that nugget. And to me, it's all about giving you the tools to be able to do it. So when you walk away, you don't need me anymore. A successful client with me, you don't need to come back. You may choose to, but you don't need to.
You don't need to. That is wonderful. Is there anything as a last thing before we close, is there anything that you tend to say to clients as they leave? Any bits of advice you might give them?
Well, it's one of those things. This is your journey. You've got to walk it. And the centre, myself, we walk that journey with you. We walk along for that little bit of time when you need our help. And then as you go on, as you get stronger, as you get better, and as you move on with your life, you can say goodbye to us, knowing that we're always there if ever you need us in the future.
Oh, that's wonderful, Roy. Thank you so much for your time today.
It's a pleasure.